Good morning and welcome to America's Home Cooking. No, I better not use that one. I'm going to leave it today. I am making short ribs, again, beef short ribs, but this time I'm coating them with some yogurt. And the seasoning that I'm going to use, which I know is going to sound weird because most people use seasoned salt for fish, but I make my own seasoned salt. And it looks different and tastes different compared to what you do there in the store. Now, and why do I use yogurt? Well, it's better than using milk, and sometimes when you just flour the meat and add salt and pepper and flour it, the seasonings come off, but I want to make sure that they stick a little better. So I'll use buttermilk or yogurt because it's got a culture to it. And the cultures we need. A lot of people don't like yogurt and they don't like buttermilk. They say it's acid or has a funny taste to it. But it's got the cultures that your body needs. And sometimes I will have yogurt. Sometimes I'll have buttermilk. Hey, are you going to play that game again? Yes, I see you, young man. And some of the first foods that our sons had was actually yogurt. I didn't give them buttermilk. I was making yogurt. And when they got hungry, they wanted a snack. And they weren't talking. And they would point, and my husband, because I was in the hospital, hold on, it's a bit chilly in this house this morning. We have 90 degree or 80 degree weather, then we plunge down into the 70s and the 60s, and it's very hard. I was in the hospital. Matter of fact, I was dying. And by the grace of God, I am alive today. But the thing is that my husband called and said, what does he want? He just keeps talking. I don't seem to understand. I said, put him on the phone. And because I was in the hospital, our son had reverted back to doing baby talk. And he was talking before, but when I went to the hospital, he lost it. And I talked with him on the phone, and I asked him, what did he want? And I heard the fluctuations in his voice, and my husband got back on the phone and said, what is he telling me? I said, he wants some yogurt. He said, how can you understand that baby talk? I said, because that's what he's telling you. Just open the fridge, he knows exactly what he wants. Just go in there and let him pick what he wants. And sure enough, he pulled it out, the yogurt that I had made, because I had abruptly ended up in the hospital. I mean, I was on a stretcher. They literally wheeled me out, and I was dying. And Sean saw it, and it tore him up. And he was a little tight. And what happened was, then he went to his father, open it, and then Sean wanted something in it, but he didn't know. And so Tony put me back on the phone, and I listened. I said, oh, he wants some honey and wheat germ in it, please. And Tony mixed it up for him, and he ate it. He said, how do you know what he's saying? I said, I just know. Don't ask me how I know. I know what he wants. Never underestimate mommy's knowledge when it comes to stupid things like that. A mother will know what her child wants. If she's close to her child, she will know. I know I did not fill my oil container up. All right, you're going to need a pan because we're going to braise these, which means we're going to brown them. And today I'm going to do them with mushrooms with the seasoning. It's going to be an unusual combination, but like I said, I have a lot of ideas. You should too if you cook. Oh, I can't do this. I got to fill my oil container. Come on, Sandra, think. Okay. So here, I put the yogurt on the meat. I already cleaned the meat and patted it dry, then I put the yogurt on it. Now I am going to put my seasoned salt on it that I made. And as you can see, it looks a lot different from what you get in the store that you buy. Because what you buy in the store is mostly salt. And I went and found out the original recipe, and then I made it myself. The same as I did for the, I actually investigated and found how to make my own all-purpose flour. Got the proper ratios and everything. And I find these things, that I look them up and I bring them to you so you could do it yourself. I'm still thinking about getting a smoker. And I will have no idea what I'm doing. But I am seriously thinking of putting the money out for that. And I just found out my pasta machine might last 3 years. And I said, oh, that's really great. So I'm going to order myself a manual one because the electric one does not make for lasagna or stuffed shells. And I have a book that shows me how to make tortellini and all these other ways of doing pasta and how to stuff them. So I said, okay, well, it looks like I'm going to have to get the manual one anyway. I'm not good at it. And we're also going to be putting this in, the gelatin that we made, because this is what, oh God, it smells so good. This is what we need for our bones and stuff. We're also going to put stock. Well, this is whey. I'm actually going to be putting whey in and probably using some stock in the rice as well. And these pieces definitely came from, you know where, Staten Island Meats. And it has much more meat on it than what I'm getting in the store, which I'm very happy about. Because the grocery store, when I saw their short ribs, I was getting bone. I know there's bones on these, which I'll collect and make a stock of as well. But what got me was, this has so much more meat. Only during the holidays or right after the holidays can I sit there and get them thick like this with a lot of meat on them. But at Staten Island Meat, I can. So I was really, really happy with that. I'm flouring them right now with my leftover flour and stuff. I'm just putting them on the cutting board today. He pulled them out and I saw so much meat on them. I was so happy. I said, oh, thank God, because I usually, when you go at the supermarket, you have to take what they're giving you. But when you have a private butcher or a butcher that you can go to, you can ask for things out of season and stuff, and they will find it for you. I mean, when he told me I said, oh, that's right, you can't get venison until the hunting season, and that's it. He said, no, they have farms. He even gets meat from Canada. So it's like he can get around and find the meat for you if you want it. I'm thinking about buying rabbit, but I can't remember which tendon has to be pulled out of the leg because it's poison, and he's going to have to do that because I can't remember for the life of me. So I'll get them to do that if they can. And we'll have fried rabbit. I know it tastes like chicken. Jackrabbit's a lot different. want to finish browning these first, so I took it off the burner, the oil, before it gets overheated. And you can see when you do it twice, it's much better. So what I do is I sit there and I look up these recipes, and like making confectionery sugar, your brown sugars, making your all-purpose, your biscuit mixes, and how you could redo it, make it more nutritious, and doing things like that. Like I learned about other things. I'm still learning. I haven't quit learning. Now, one lady brought to my attention, well, I already knew really, but it was very kind of her to share some information with me. I had looked into it already. I'm going to bring you over here. I don't want flour on the bottom of you, make it more slippery. I'm going to put you over here because I'm going to be adding the meat. Everybody left this morning. I met everybody. I usually have one sleeping during the morning hours. The one's gone in the morning, one works the evening, and when I wake up, they're coming. But now, this morning, I got everybody out of the house at the same time. Within, I'd say, an hour of each other. It was a bit crazy this morning, so I didn't start cooking as soon as I got up. See, I used a small pan today. It doesn't make sense, but I'm going to definitely put this over rice, I think. That's water for the ironing. Do you know we used to have to make starch for our clothes? To iron them when they're cotton? I don't know if you know that. The older people will know that. We had to iron everything. There are so many warnings about food and stuff. I made my own baking powder, but I have to be careful with it because it doesn't have aluminum in it when I work with it, because it is just the ingredients minus the aluminum. Now remember, aluminum is used in baking powder as a retarder. So when you put it liquid and the dries together, you notice how it'll puff up right away, whereas the aluminum retards it until if the heat hits it, then it lifts. This is why on some recipes you have baking soda and baking powder, because they want the lift to start there, but they want it to finish up in the oven. I am trying to work with the natural one that I make and see if I can maneuver around recipes and how I can move around recipes without using that. So I can show you how you can do that. But I actually look up and research how to do certain things. Like if I run out of all-purpose flour, I always have cake flour in winter weeks. So I know how to mix it in the right proportion that you get the all-purpose flour that you know of is today. I think I have given it to you. I am not sure, but if I run out of all-purpose, believe you me, I will pull the other flours out and I'll show you how you can actually make your own all-purpose flour. And then once you make your all-purpose, I've showed you how to make your own self-rising flour and your own self-rising cornmeal. So when women sat there and they bought the basics. Like if you got granulated sugar and you got some molasses, you can make your light and brown sugars. You can sit there, and if you have regular sugar and a little bit of cornstarch, you can blend that up and you end up with confectionery sugar. See, all these sugars can be put together in different forms and ways. I see people who sit there and show you how to make all-purpose flour. And I literally see their ratios, and they'll sit there and say, this is heavier, or this has a different taste, because they don't have the right ratios. You've got to get those right ratios if you want to make all-purpose flour. It's just like making mayonnaise. They sit there and say, I had tried every last one of those years ago, over 40 years ago. I was in my 20s when I did, and it didn't work. Mayonnaise needs a stabilizer, and that's the one I show you. You can leave it out on a hot day and it will not separate, whereas you leave theirs out, it separates, so it doesn't work. I know that already. Been there, done that, as they say. I read up that you could not dehydrate cheddar cheese. I wasn't going to buy the dehydrated cheddar cheese because it had a preservative in it. So I went, because I wanted to make this dehydrated cheese, to make a mixture to put on popcorn. And I did. But I looked it up and investigated, and I finally found it, and I said, yeah, and then I gave you the recipe, because I did not want to give you chemicals or things with preservatives in them. I tried to avoid them. Do they get through? I am sure they do, someplace, somewhere. But the thing is, like baking powder, it's a little difficult. I'm trying to maneuver without the aluminum. It's not easy. But these are things that I do so I can show you. If you wish to get away from it, these are going to be good. Look how they ground up so nice. Oh, I'm definitely putting mushrooms with this. I'm not going to use whole grains in here this time. This time I won't. Excuse me, I ate breakfast this morning. I actually ate breakfast. I woke up and said I was hungry and I was going to eat. Okay, they're brown on the other side. I know everybody's probably going to say, you can't use that. You're not supposed to use that. Yeah, I know. Been there. Heard that. But this is going to prevent arthritis. So I am going to use it. If they like it or not. Like I learned about gelatin. Knox, every time I had gelatin, I ended up with pain in my hip. So I decided to investigate, which I do investigate. Can you imagine how rich this is going to be? Oh, I can just imagine. And I found out a cheap way, which they make and sell to the Americans, is 2 synthetic chemicals that draw the minerals out of your bones and your teeth. So if you eat a lot of Jell-O and you find out that you end up with your teeth hurting and things like that, there's only one person you can look at. So I went and I finally found natural ones. I'm putting this much in. And I got it and I can have it now, so that's it. Now if I could learn to make my gelatin clean, I wouldn't even buy the natural, but I don't know how to do that yet, so I'll use it in other areas. This is my gelatin, but if I ever learned to make it clear, then I would sit there and say, I can make my own jellos and stuff. But I'll buy the natural one that's made with bones instead of the chemicals. That way it'll build up on your joints and build up on your bones and you don't have to worry. Now we're going to wait for this to come to a boil. I just think this is going to be so good. Now I'm not adding any salt to this now, which everybody knows if you've been watching me for a while. You know, salt is one thing that I just don't put in right away. This is going to be good. Now you see why you use pot holders? Oh God, that's hot. Now, last time I added too much of this with the rice and I had to cut back on it. So you should put about a tablespoon in, maybe a tablespoon and a half if you're going to cook with rice. And if you add any more, the rice is going to get tacky. I'm putting less in this time so the rice won't be tacky. That's something you can use this in rice. And in pasta, you just have to be careful that you don't use a lot of it. Now, I used a lot of it in here because I want a thick gravy with this. Okay, now this is whey. You see the white stuff on the bottom here? I'm getting ready to start rice as well. You don't throw it out because it's the building block of protein. Pour it in there. Don't waste it. Okay. I need some water too. Maybe enough. I'm going to cook brown rice with this, so you can just imagine how rich this whole meal is going to be. I do want flavor in my meal, but I don't want it without the nutritional value as well. So this is why I cook this way. Everything has so much flavor. And when you cook like this, your family doesn't eat. At first they eat a ton of food, and then after that they start rolling off. If I have time today, I'm hoping to make apple brownies. I'll use this one today. This is just to break the cocoa. I want the food to be very rich and flavorful, not just the seasonings and stuff, but I want the nutritional value as high as I can get it. that really burnt. Dang, I'm gonna have a mark across my arm for a couple of days. Like I'm thinking about having, I've turned this down to simmer and this is coming to a boil and I'm gonna put brown rice in it. Okay, listen, I'm gonna move you back over here. Hold on a bit. I just got too much going on here. You know, I could really knock you over the way I go. So I get a lot of things coming across my Instagram. It's mostly on Instagram, though there is some on Facebook, but Instagram is loaded. Instagram is actually putting TikTok things across, and I don't like TikTok. I think TikTok's a waste. I've never used it. Though my son set up an account for me, I've never looked at it, never used it. Now I'm rinsing the rice. This is brown rice, just regular brown rice. It takes longer than the white rice. If you use wild rice, you're going to be at it forever. I always say that because it takes a long time. But one thing I do know is the peelings and stuff of your vegetables have antitoxins in them. If we're taking stuff and chemicals that are in the food, we have got to get those into our system to defend our bodies. And the only way is with those peelings. Like I did. Let me show you what I did. You saw that I was collecting onion peelings, right? Well, I did. And I washed them. Oh, that really burns. Let's see. Here it is. Onion peelings are very, very high in antitoxins, vitamin C, vitamin A, potassium, and a lot of things. I checked it all out. So what I did was I asked the question, can you eat onion peelings? And they said, yes, but you choke on. Then I said, can I dehydrate them? And they said, yes, you can. I said, great. So then I said, I asked a series of questions and I was getting yes on all of them. And they said the most to add is a teaspoon. Now, when you open, after I dehydrate them, I grind them into a powder. They almost have a smoky taste, smell to them. And they said you just put it in a little bit. So I am going to sprinkle a little bit into the meat. And that's what I'm going to add to them. And I just added a little less than a teaspoon, and I'll stir it around. And I think that will give a nice smoky taste of onion to this meat that I am cooking. I'm also going to be getting dehydrated mushrooms in there too. But that's what I did, and this is what it looks like. I'll get you up close. See? But it's funny that it had a smoky taste to it, which surprised me. That I did not expect. So I sat there and said, could you dehydrate, can you eat garlic peelings? And they said, yes, but you could choke, but it's thin. I said, can you dehydrate them? Yes. And then I checked out the nutritional value, and it's high in antitoxins. And I said, well, this is really great. I can do this. Now, another thing that prevents cancer are seeds. They've set all kinds of seeds. If you eat them, they have 2 chemicals in it that fight cancer. I eat grape seeds, I eat apple seeds, I eat pear seeds, I eat watermelon seeds, I eat sesame seeds, poppy seeds, I eat seeds, nuts or seeds. Now, the peaches, if you want, you have to crack to get to the seed. You have to crack that hard crust after you eat the peach. You crack it, the seed is in that hard center. You crack that, and that's where the seed is, and you can eat that. But there are places where we can get these fighters that we need to prevent cancer. It's in the peelings, and it's in the seeds. It's right there. And how many people throw seeds away? Fling. How many people throw the peelings away? Fling. Goes into the trash. I take those peelings of my vegetables and their seeds. I throw them in my compost. In the summer, I'll throw it out in the yard, you know, in my garden. That yard is so bad. I'm still trying to build a nutrition into it. At least this year I'm going to get okras and tomatoes, and I got potatoes, and I got rhubarb, and I got asparagus. I got those growing, but it's still not strong enough to take bell peppers or anything else that's not nutritionally strong yet. Now, I'm going to turn my rice down to simmer because it's boiling, put the lid on and just leave it till it's done. But we've got all of this that prevents cancer. All we have to do is eat or use it. This is why I make those stocks, vegetables. I collect those peelings like crazy. The gelatin is to keep arthritis and stuff away. So when I use bones, if it's got sour cream or some vegetables on it, I rinse it off real quick, put it in a bag, stick it in the freezer. When I get a bag full, I'm going to stick it in my pressure cooker, and I'm going to pressure cook that thing about 3 hours. Make sure you have enough water. I put the water up high. When I open it, I strain all that meat and stuff, and I sit there and I put it in a container. I left the fat. There was so little fat. I just stuck it in a container, put it in the refrigerator. The next day, the fat that was at the top, I took it off, and I packed it up into a jar. So I said, I am going to do this, and I'm going to can it, so I'll have it all year then. I didn't know I could do that. I just got a pressure cooker. Last year, I couldn't find the rubber for mine, or what you call the gasket. No matter where I looked, I couldn't find it. So I said, well, I'm going to have to throw this away, which I was very upset about because it was a very good one. But I got another one. And they give me the instructions on where I could buy it. I said, oh, it's great, you give it to me now, but you didn't give it to me when I bought it at first. So I have that. But these are things that we can do for our bodies to help us be better. And we do have the fighting ability to fight cancer. It's right there in the food. You just had to know what to look for. That's why animals are so healthy. In the wild, those animals are much healthier than we are. Unless we mess them up. So listen, I have to go get my mushrooms because I'm going to add some mushrooms to this short ribs before they cook, and the mushrooms don't cook. So listen, I'll show you the dish when it's done. You take care.